Hi, everybody. Welcome to the launch of our film series, Portraits of Home. Before we begin, I want to acknowledge that the land that we gather on and the land that we gathered on to create this film and the land where most of us are gathering this evening is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. We're so grateful to be here tonight with these incredible musicians that have become part of the Amadeus Choir family over the last 2 months. It was a whirlwind getting this project out of the door at the very beginning of the season, and I'm so excited that it's now coming to fruition. We are joined tonight by Thomas Burton, who's the acting conductor of the Amadeus Choir and led this project on the ground. Hi, Thomas. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. So happy to be here and so excited to see the results of this wonderful project.
Thank you. So am I. I can't wait. We have 3 composer collaborators with us, and I'm going to go in reverse order of release as we introduce them and get to know them a little bit in this pre-release chat. As you all know, at 7:30 this evening, our first video called For Freedom is composed by Natalie Fasheh. She's right here in the middle. Will be released, and we're going to get to know all 3 of the composers tonight a little bit. So I'm going to start with Waleed. Hi, welcome. How are you? Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Waleed.
I'm doing well, and great to be here and to be among this beautiful company.
It's so great to have you. Would you just tell us a little bit about who you are? Tell us your story, how music is part of your story, and maybe end up at the piece that you just wrote for us.
All right, I hope I will not take don't have the African musician like to talk about themselves. My name is Waleed Abdulhamid, and I am from Sudan. I born in town called Omdurman. It's west of the River Nile. I born like few meters from the River Nile, and I grew up absorbing art and music naturally from the community. My first school and my first introduction to music probably by people around me in the community, like women and elders, ceremonies, parties, and wedding. This is probably my first introduction and my first uh, way of executing to be, a musician. And I traveled a little bit around the world. I've been in Sweden, in Iceland, and different parts in Europe. I landed in New York, and I was there for 1 year. It didn't work. I was supposed to go to school and do stuff. For some reason, I don't know what happened. I couldn't. I did not dig New York at that time, and I ended up in Canada in 1991. I came here with the guitar in my back and bag, like Adidas. I remember Adidas sport bag with a couple of, clothes on it. And since then, I made Toronto home. I lived in Barkdale for 30 years. I become part of the, art community and, music community in Toronto. I'm an educator as well. I taught in high school, but now I've been teaching at Hamburg for the last 16, 17 years. This year, I teach at U of T as well. At Sheridan, I should mention Sheridan. And just, that's what I do in life. I make music for TV, for movie, for theater, on the stage, and I have a band. I play with a lot of people around the world. I'm just one of those grateful human beings, very lucky to be playing with a lot of different community from a lot of people around the world, and also, I was really happy to work with the choir and composing this piece called Maisha. Maisha in Swahili mean life, and Maisha Magumu, life is tough, life is hard, and as a man who come from Africa, I always imagine like we have a lot of resource in Africa, but the wealth is not divided equally, and because always we've been led by the corrupted mind always, this is why life is hard and tough for the African, especially for me as come from Sudan. And also that there is a part called Hashimu. Hashimu in Swahili also mean respect. And when you guys call me, I'm always thinking I got inspired by the movement of the Black Lives Matter, and also I'm a big fan of telling stories, the story of the people, and being away from Africa, but also being in heart. The Africa live within inside me, and I always get this news. We should not be like this. And also, as a black man, all what you need to know me and respect me. You can imagine I was young when I come to Toronto, and also I've been stopped by the police so many times, for no reason. I never even smoke in my life. I never even grab a cigarette bullet between my finger. But hey, the way I look, the beats I wear, I was dreadlocks. I'm a hippie guy, and all those things. And I thought, what, with the choir, and I always believe if you want to change, you have to be part of it. And I thought the choir would be the best place to present the story I want to tell. And I combine actually this song Maisha almost two songs together, two idea of the song. One talking about the life is hard, but also in the middle there is a line saying, but let's find a way to make life easy. Make life easy, and we insist, easy, easy. There is a chorus saying that, right? And we always believe like, we can make it easy. There is a way. There is a way to do that. And the second part, Hashimu talking about respect. Hashimu dunya mango. Dunya mean life in a lot of different languages, including, I believe, Arabic as well. In Swahili mean life. And we just, there is no reason if we know each other, all what takes to say hello, to start with hello, salam, how are you doing? And to know me, to know each other, to know one another. And that the respect will gain and will rise by itself. And I'm so grateful to have the choir to say that. And when I hear it in the rehearsal with Thomas at in the gym at the school, when I hear that Hashimu, 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 especially with the soprano, was like, woo, like I get gasp. And that exactly what you want to project. Respect, just respect. That's all. It's a simple thing we have to practice. And I'm going to stop here. I hope I explained enough.
Thank you, Waleed. Your enthusiasm about music and its power is so infectious. I remember in our first meeting, it was on Zoom. We've never met in person yet. My husband came down after and said, "Who are you talking to? It sounds like you were having so much fun." And because we were just riffing and you were singing, and it was just this really amazing meeting of ideas. And I think that your work has been so impactful on us as an organization. It's been such a joy. I know. Thomas, did you want to say anything about that piece? And
I was just going to say, like, the way that, for everyone who's watching, the way that we learned this piece was Waleed came in and taught it to the choir by rote. We didn't learn it by reading music on the page. And, we were all really adamant about doing it that way to honor the culture that the music came from. But also, it was a great way to get to know you, Waleed, the way you taught the choir. And it was just a wonderful way to experience your infectious energy firsthand and really dive into the style of the music right away and just challenge the choir to learn in a new way from different traditions than they're used to. So it was just a really wonderful, wonderful experience.
Thank you both so much. Waleed's piece, Maisha Magumu, comes out on November 24th, 2 weeks from today. We really
looking forward to it.
Can't wait. Yeah, me too. Me too. I want to just pause for a moment because we've had some technical difficulties on Facebook. I got an error message that said that something happened on Facebook's end, but we are still live streaming on YouTube. So if you are seeing this, would you please tell your friends to go to the YouTube version? Maybe we can put out the YouTube link on Facebook and make sure that everybody is directed to this stream because we don't want to have folks miss out on this conversation. It will be available after, and we'll post it to our Facebook page afterwards as well. So not to worry, you won't miss out. Pouya, hello. It's so wonderful to see you.
Really nice to see you too. Really happy to be here.
You have been on our podcast here at Amadeus Choir before. You have worked with us as the sound designer and composer for our podcast last season. And now you have written or adapted a piece for this project, Portraits of Home. Would you tell us a little bit about your story, first of all, where you come from, how you came to be a musician, and a little bit about your piece, Hafez?
Sure, yeah. So I was born in Iran, and I started playing the piano there, classical piano. And when I was 12 years old, I came to Canada. I immigrated with my family, late 90s, and went to the conservatory here, did all the traditional classical training. And then I continued to University of Toronto, did my piano performance degree and composition degree, got a bachelor's there. And then after that, I was like, what am I going to do? So what else do I want to do? And so I then went to McGill to Montreal and lived there for 4 years and got another degree, master's in sound recording. As a sound engineer, so I did that as well. Meanwhile, all this time I've been composing and performing, composing in various styles from like different ensembles, but also like different styles. I'm still performing with a group that we bring like world music ensemble to our group. It's a quartet called La Dome Ensemble. So I've been doing that as well. And then also I've been doing some electronic music, I've been in rock bands. So the amazing thing about being in Canada is you're so free and open to do a lot of things that, for example, I was not able to do back in Iran. So that's really lovely to be here. And to have come here. So this piece is called Hafez, and it's an arrangement of a piece that I wrote 3 years ago, part of a bigger project that I did with a collective of Iranian composers called ICOT. And this is just a section of it that I arranged for the choir and for piano, which I play, and also daf. And daf is a amazing Persian traditional instrument, which is like a circular frame drum. And it's beautifully played by Naghmeh, who you will see in the video next week. And the text that was this song was based on is written by Banu Zan, which is a contemporary poet from Iran who lives in Toronto. And I believe she came in early 2010, something like that. The song is about hope to me. The first part is we're in a beautiful garden and we're thinking about like how we are remembering the beautiful times back in our country and homeland. Of the people, the food, the sweet memories that we had with our community, family, the nature, everything like that. And then halfway through the piece, there's a key change, and there's things open up, and the text says, "Open your book and know your future." So it's about hope and coming to a new land with all the difficulties that brings. It's not easy to come from a different country and start a new life, especially for, I was young, but for my family, for my parents who were older, to leave everything, their friends and family. And so this is about hope and a new place of excitement. And so halfway through the song, you will hear that. So that's what the composition is about.
Thank you so much, Pouya. It is a beautiful composition. And I remember when we were talking about which of your works might work best in this setting, this one really spoke to me because of that. It has an affect about it. It paints a whole mood, a whole environment, a whole picture. And I really thought that the choir could be a part of that texture, and you totally transformed the piece into this choral, like, whole sound world. Thomas, what was your experience working with that?
Well, I mean, just segueing what you just said, Kathleen, transforming this piece originally for a small orchestra and soprano soloist to a piece for piano and choir. With all three of our pieces, they're each so different. And what I really love about Pouya's piece is how the choir can take on these instrumental roles and be an oboe flying through the air, or be a string section supporting a soprano soloist, and really sing with a kind of agility and flexibility that is really exciting to hear. And Pouya mentioned the Daf played by Nagman, just one of the most exciting percussion performances I've ever seen as well. There's just so much to look forward to for this piece.
Thanks. And I should add, the first time I heard it in the rehearsal, in our rehearsal space, I also had goosebumps, like hearing all those people like singing this. It's nothing beats like all the so many humans like singing all together, and especially in our crazy times of COVID, like having all those people get together and sing. And Thomas did such a fantastic job of, like, as he's saying, like bring out the expressive lines and the dynamics and leading everybody. I'm very grateful that I was part of this project.
Well, there's an aspect to the piece. The poet Hafez was not someone that, obviously Hafez has this huge reputation and is so famous in Persian culture, but I was remiss to not know the name before, and many people in the choir also had not heard of him, and so it was a huge joy to discover his poetry and just the legacy of this wonderful person through this music. So I'm super grateful for that as well.
Amazing. Thanks so much.
Thank you both. Hafez is being released 1 week from today on November 17th. That's next week. And tonight, in 10 minutes, we will be unveiling the first of the series, which is called For Freedom by Natalie Fasheh. Hi, Natalie. Welcome. How are you?
Hello. Thank you. I'm grateful to be here and excited for what's to come.
Yeah. Tell us in a few sentences about yourself, your journey that led you to writing this piece.
I'm a Palestinian who grew up in Jordan, in West Asia, and moved here 8 years ago. 8 years ago, and growing up in Jordan as a Palestinian, there's been a lot of talk since I was a child about identity and what it means to be a Palestinian in this world, and how that is being in the world. And I also found my love of music through piano playing when I was little, and also always have enjoyed singing. So growing up, found myself in choir, and the power of being together and singing together to communicate really deep emotions and experiences and stories that are reflective of what's happening around us really resonated with me as a teenager. So coming here I wanted to explore that more in my career, studied music, and now I work as a community engaged artist, as a choral musician, and trying to really bring voice to different stories and different human experiences for the pursuit of hopefully justice and peace. So this peace for freedom is really about exploring. Many of us come here to this land fleeing certain difficult situations, or to find more hopeful situations and a more hopeful life, to make this place our home. And myself as a Palestinian included, coming here for a better life, in pursuit of freedom. And at the same time, coming here, I felt, wow, me being here is taking away from other people's freedom, because indigenous peoples here are being going through colonialism the same way that my people are. So this is really about how we're all really in pursuit of that freedom, and how we are all on this path together to find out what that really is, and break free from all the oppressions that discrimination really imposes on many of our identities walking in the world, and the hope that all of us together can find collective freedom, and that it's in our hands together, is big concepts that I wanted to explore with the choir.
And you did such a wonderful job, Natalie, of right from the get-go in your workshop, breaking us out of that Western classical framework that the choir is used to rehearsing and performing in. I find that you approach the music in a really holistic way and honor the story and extra musical aspects that surround the piece equally. And it's such an important reminder when, as a choir, we can get focused on, singing the notes in tune and all those technical aspects. But yeah, it's so wonderful to just have you be there to remind us to value history and context and story equally to those, technical aspects of the piece. It was really wonderful.
I think that's something that Waleed spoke to as well. Like, how do we balance those, the practice that we have as a choir in Canada? This is part of what we do is rehearse pitches and prepare for performances and all of that stuff. And how do we take a step back and think, why do we do this? What are we trying to say? What is the message? What is the driving force that brings us together every Tuesday night to do something special? And I love that we have that in common in all of these pieces, that it's sort of shone a new light on why we do this. Natalie, would you talk a little bit about the process and what it's like to see your piece come to life in film versus a typical performance, and how this project kind of was for you?
Yeah, it was very exciting meeting the choir. I know I also, when I heard the choir for the first time, I teared up. Also coming out of the pandemic, being in the first time with a room of people singing about freedom, which, as Waleed also mentioned, is what has been such a theme, or a big topic that our society is dealing with right now. So it was really interesting going into the space with the choir, and opening up a conversation and really interesting explorations, as Thomas said, of ways that we can learn choral music outside of what is usually being valued. There were many interesting parts of the rehearsal process that I think I myself, that just happened, and I myself was surprised by, but also have become such instrumental parts of what the song is about, exploring imagery and exploring conducting and exploring what singing together means, and in different contexts outside of the European choir.
Mm-hmm.
lens. So it was really interesting, and then putting that into the video. I mean, the favorite part was really going and watching the sunrise at the beach and really having that meditative, like listening to the song and seeing the sunrise. And I know that was a big part of the rehearsal, where one of the choristers said that the song, a part of the song reminds them of the sunrise. So being able to really see that put to action visually was interesting, and seeing the choir bring the visual elements, like there's paper birds and in the rehearsal, like bringing that into seeing their faces and how it all was coming together throughout the day of the filming was really interesting.
Yeah.
I have one really, really fond memory, Natalie, of your rehearsal where there's one part in your piece where different voices pass along a line to each other in this crescendo that they kind of share. And you had the choir do this like crowd wave like they do at a baseball game. And, you know, at first it wouldn't be obvious to people how this directly applies to music, but after doing that crowd wave a couple times and going back to that part of the piece, it was so remarkable at how much they instantly could just nail passing that line off to other parts of the choir and just being aware of each other in the space. It was a really special moment.
Yeah, it was that was also one of the fondest memories of how can we bring the imagery into action and like actually explore things, and it was really fun. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We have about 90 seconds till the premiere. Waleed, thank you for your work with us. I'm so delighted that you were able to join us today. Pouya, thank you so much. It's just been so wonderful to collaborate with you again. I can't wait to see your piece next week. And Natalie, 1 minute. Here we go. If you're watching, please go to our Facebook page. It'll premiere right there. And there's also links to the YouTube video if you need that. It's all on our Facebook page. Or go to amadeuschoir.com/portraits. And it'll all be linked there for you. Please enjoy. It's been such an honor and a privilege to work with you all. And I can't wait to do it more in the future. Take care.
Thank you.